Hey folks, this is Matt once again, and welcome back to my next Indiana Jones review, which is Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, which is technically a prequel, because I believe the first one takes place around 1936, but this one takes place around 1935, somewhere around there. So I'm not sure why they technically made it a prequel. It's no big deal, but if it was because, well, maybe in case we get Marion Karen Allen back or so forth. She wasn't in the next one, Last Crusade, so again, I don't really know what the big idea was to make it a prequel. If anyone has information as to, I mean, I know why it's a prequel, as in the years, this takes place a year before and such, but what was the thought process behind it? Like I said before, I'm not sure which is my favorite Indiana Jones film. It's either the first one, Raiders of the Lost Ark, or The Temple of Doom, although I still really enjoy Last Crusade, and yes, I do enjoy Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. But for the longest time, I never knew Temple of Doom got hate. Never knew that. I always just assumed that those first three Indiana Jones films were hailed by critics and fans, and it did well at the box office, and there were quite a few critics who enjoyed it, but apparently it got some bad rap. It's one of those I don't understand, like Die Hard 2. I never knew for the longest time that Die Hard 2 got any bad rap, just like Temple of Doom. I'm like, really? I think nowadays people don't give as much crap because honestly, they just put it on this one, Kingdom of Crystal Skull. So it is Kingdom of Crystal Skull made people like Temple of Doom more. But I enjoy all these movies. And Temple of Doom, I enjoy the darkness of it. I enjoy the change of pace they made on it. Where Raiders of the Lost Ark was many places and much more, I don't know if I want to say much more outside, but of all the Indiana Jones films, that was the one I felt the most adventure aspect of it. While this one, at times it was almost like a horror movie, which was cool. Like Indiana Jones in a horror movie because it's this evil cult, black magic, Molaram, a great villain who can rip people's hearts out, but because it's black magic, the people are still alive. And which the prequel thing, it kind of, that's one thing that doesn't make sense because if you remember, there's a line of dialogue in Raiders of the Lost Ark that says, "Hey Marcus, come on, you know I don't believe that magic stuff and that supernatural." Like when he's talking to Daniel Elliott at the beginning of Raiders of the Lost Ark, and I'm like, wait a minute, you don't believe in that stuff, but apparently a year before you dealt with an evil cult that would rip hearts out, but the person's still alive, and magic stones. So that's one little fuck up with the writing. It's a nitpick, but something I had to mention. I think also people are annoyed by this character, Kate Capshaw, the Willie Scott character, where she was screaming or crying, or she was playing the character who was a glamour singer in a nightclub, and was it Shanghai? I forget where. And I believe the club is what she called the Obi-Wan Kenobi Club. And she's sort of the, oh, I broke a nail, dead weight type of character. But I thought she did a good job. For what she was told to do, I thought she did good. She was funny. And that's where I got a lot of comedy from her character. Now, I will admit, of all the females, I prefer Karen Allen and Marion, that character. Karen Allen did the best. But for Willie, she was playing a different type of character, and I enjoyed her for the comedy aspect. I cannot pronounce this kid's name. I know he was in the Goonies. T. Luke Kwan. I cannot pronounce his name correctly. But he's the kid who played Short Round, and like I said, he would also be in the Goonies. And that was a great addition. The Short Round character was memorable. It was always sad that character never came back. And who knows, maybe that would have been interesting if he was the Shia LaBeouf character, like the replacement. And I don't even mind Shia LaBeouf and Kingdom of Crystal Skull. I don't mind that at all. But maybe that would have made it interesting if it was Short Round grown up, helping Indy, and then it's like Indy, Short Round, and Marion. That'd be interesting. But it's sad that character never came back. But that was a fun character, great lines of dialogue. No time for love, Dr. Jones. I believe it's like Dr. Jones, no time for love, while they're having a chase scene. I love, like I was saying, I love this like a horror film and the darkness, and I think that's why Spielberg doesn't care for the film nowadays. Of the first three, it's his least favorite, although I'm sure nowadays he'd say Crystal Skull is his least favorite because a lot of people hate it nowadays. But the first three, he hated it. Well, it's his least favorite, and again, people had a problem with the darkness. I think the darkness was a great change of pace from Raiders of the Lost Ark. It became its own film. They didn't just copy Raiders of the Lost Ark. And Indiana Jones, I think he was a hero in Kingdom Crystal. I think he was a hero in the first film, and I explained that in my review as to why I think he's still a hero in the first film. But I think he's even more so in this one because he's battling this evil cult and he rescues these kids who are put into slave labor and they're getting whipped. And Temple of Doom to me is ballsy. It's edgy and it's satisfying. The fact this got a PG rating, I know some people got pissed off, and this helped, this, and I think Gremlins, but especially this, helped make the rating PG-13, which films like Red Dawn and such would take the mantle of PG-13. This was a big reason for that. Because again, you're ripping hearts out and you're doing a lot of other stuff. The action scenes are once again solid. The last 30-40 minutes are like a breathless, exciting, action-packed finale. It's fantastic because you got an excellent minecart chase sequence. Yeah, Indiana Jones fighting this big guy, which I think is actually the big guy, who was the bald guy in the first film with this airplane scene. He actually, I believe he comes back in the second one. He's like a big, what's it called? Thuggee, the big guy Indiana Jones battles. And you got the stuff with the water rushing down. You got the stuff on the rope bridge, and just a lot of stuff happening throughout that. Film starts out with a musical number where Kate Capshaw sings the song "Anything Goes," and Indiana Jones is a little bit different type of character. Maybe that's why they did the prequel aspect. Because he's not about wanting stuff for a museum. Like a lot of times in the films, this belongs in a museum. He's in this for the money, fortune and glory. It's not about museum. Fuck the museum. He's in this for fortune and glory. Like he gives this remains of this emperor to this guy at the club, and he gets diamonds for it. Or later on, he wants these stones, these magic stones, Sankara stones, for fortune and glory, not a museum. So maybe that was the development of the character going from, I wouldn't call him a jerk, but in it really for the money, and then by the end, it's much more of a just become the hero that we know and enjoy. And they slip him this poison in the drink, and that's where you get this chaos in the club where the antidote's being kicked around by feet, and this diamond's being kicked around by feet, and people come out left and right, and balloons, and this big old thing that Indy uses as a shield, and just Kid Capshaw who has the antidote, and they jump out the window and land in their car, and Short Round is there. No time for love, and that's where you get aspects of the Willie Scott character where she fumbles the gun, and he's like, "Where's my gun? Where's my gun?" He burned me and it broke the nail. But again, some people got annoyed with her. I would say a bad way of doing that would be Sharon Stone and the King Solomon Mines, Alan Cormier, Lost City of Gold, which I enjoy those movies, but Sharon Stone, she's much more of an irritating girl than Kate Capshaw is. I think Kate Capshaw, it was supposed to be for comedy's sake, and I actually enjoyed it. And they escape in the car, and they get to a plane. Weirdly enough, in a little cameo, when they're going to the plane, there's a guy with a British accent trying to, and it's Dan Aykroyd. So right when they get there, and they're about ready to go to a plane, a guy's talking to them, "Well, it's the best I could do in short notice." I'm like, It's fucking Dan Aykroyd. So weird that Dan Aykroyd's just in a like a cameo role like that. Not even a close up, just a far away shot. Just hear his voice and you see him like in the background, like this big talking to Indy and them. And he gets to the plane and Indy's like, "Nice try, Lao She." He closes the door and realizes this is the Lao She airplane service. So while they're in mid-flight, the pilots bail because they're working for him, and it's Indy, Willie, and Short Round. And anyone who this is one of those scenes that I don't get the complaint for the nuke the fridge scene. I mean, yeah, it's bigger because it's a new film. It's big, of course, it's bigger. But I'm like, none of the films are realistic. They weren't meant to be. They're supposed to be over-the-top serials of the 30s and 40s. People go, well, that's too much. Well, right here, you have a scene where they go out in this tiny raft and 3 people, and they go all the way down to the mountain, and they slide down the snowy mountain, and they fall off another cliff, and they go all the way down to the water, go through the rapids, and they don't even have a scratch. Hell, they're barely wet. But you go with it because that's the type of film it is. The sort of serials of the 30s and 40s. It's not real, quote, realistic, but it is fun. And they realize they've landed in India, and that's where they get in this village, and they realize that these kids have been stolen, as well as these sacred stones that they prayed to had been stolen. Mainly, they had one stone. And this kid who's escaped arrives and has his little map, and Indy looks at it and realizes, oh, these might be the legendary Sankara stones, and if we get them, fortune and glory. And pretty much they have a trek there throughout India, riding elephants, Indiana Jones and Short Round playing cards, and while Willie is freaking out with bats and stuff, and Short Round and Indy arguing, "You cheat! You did 4 cards!" And Indy's like, "It was a mistake. It was a mistake." And then finally Short Round has a card hidden under his sleeve. "Oh yeah? Look at this. Look at this. What's this?" So I think they worked well together, all 3 of them. Would have been nice to see the Short Round character come back in another installment. And like the first film, the second film looks great on Blu-ray. Looks wonderful on Blu-ray, the picture quality. And something I never noticed before, but before they get to the palace, Indy comes across a statue with blood on it, and there's these things hanging down, and I swear to God, they look like fingers. They look like fingers with the fingernails. I don't know if that's what it is, but if it is, I never noticed that before. If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. But if it is, I never noticed before that those were supposed to be fingers. Because I'm like, is that a finger? And then, are those fingernails? Like, all I know is the blood and something's hanging there, but watching this on Blu-ray quality, I'm like, are those fingers? Yeah, I could be wrong, but that's what it looked like to me. And yeah, a lot of crazy stuff. I mean, when they get to the palace and they have the dinner, and Snake's surprise with eels in it, these giant bugs that they eat stuff out of, chilled monkey brain, a soup with fucking eyeballs in it. It is insane stuff when you think about it. I mean, can you imagine a movie like Indiana Jones type of movie having fucking chilled monkey brains and eyeballs and soup and ripping hearts out, and a subplot where young kids are being whipped and as slaves for labor? I mean, fuck. That's why watching it really made me enjoy the film, is that this is a really ballsy, edgy movie that they did. I know at the time, I guess the makers of the film, like George Lucas, was going through a divorce, and I don't know what was Spielberg's problem, but they pushed the darkness. They felt it was too dark. To me, it works. I think it helps with the film. It's more dire straits for Indy to overcome the odds, and makes the bad guys that much more ruthless, and makes you want to hate them more. And no, I don't think it was racist, because you take every film, someone's going to be a bad guy. That doesn't mean every single person in that country is a bad guy. I mean, there are bad guys, but there's also good guys. I mean, did they forget that the village with the whose kids were stolen? Those weren't bad guys. It's an evil cult, which happens to be in India. Hate to be bearer bad news, but there's evil cults everywhere, including America. That's like saying, well, we have this guy named Charles Manson, so every single person in America sucks ass. It's not racist. Get over it. And you have this nice back and forth between Indy and Willie, thinking that they're going to get in bed together. Then they're like, oh, wait a minute, I'm not that kind of girl. I'm not that easy. And then Indy's like, well, I'm not that easy either. And Willie's like, oh, 5 minutes. You're going to be back here in 5 minutes. And Indy's like, I'm going to be asleep in 5 minutes. And they have this nice back and forth. I like the humor. It really, I don't know how to explain it. It's one of those things, if I didn't have to worry about copyright, I would just show the scene. But I like the back and forth. And also, I didn't mention John Williams' score, once again, fantastic, like the first film. And he didn't just copy and paste the score, he created new themes. Like in this scene, it had a nice comedic tone to it. Or even the other stuff, that do 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 ba da 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 da. Once again, a great score, just as memorable as the first one. And when that main theme pops up, it always gets your adrenaline pumping. But again, the new stuff works and is very memorable as well. People remember the new stuff in both this and Last Crusade. That's one drawback I'll give for Kingdom of Crystal Skull, as well as it's too much CGI, stupid Monty shit, and score doesn't have its own flavor like the first three do. So again, that's why Of the Four is my least favorite, but I do still enjoy the film. Still think it's a fun popcorn movie. But this one, Indy gets attacked in his room, and I believe that's the scene where Harrison Ford really fucked up his back. He had like a hernia, which got him out of, for a long time, he was hurting badly. So quite a few scenes had to be done with stunt doubles, or the entire fight scenes had to be done with doubles. And I thought they did a good job hiding it. And, you know, there was nothing really they could do because Harrison Ford was hurt as a motherfucker because he's being choked from behind and he throws the guy behind and he's able to get him and get his whip the guy, throw the whip into the fan, the guy gets carried up, I guess sort of breaks his neck or something. And he goes to Willie's room to see if everything's okay. I thought this was funny, where Indy's looking at a statue, looking at the breast, because he's thinking there's a hidden passageway. So he's pushing on it, and Willie, Kate Capsha's like, what are you doing? I'm right here. He's like, I'm right here. And he pushes it. And that's where you get that great scene where in the first film it was snakes, here it's bugs, which I hate bugs. You know, of the three, where you have snakes, bugs, and then the next one, rats. Bugs are the ones that get me the most. So that's just like, ugh. Just all these centipedes and this weird ass bugs, and they go in, and Short accidentally hits this thing where the spikes are coming down and spikes are coming up, and then Willie has to go in there, and she's complaining the whole time. And she goes, puts her arm in this one hole, and he grabs it. That's the wrong hole. The one on your right. Willie, if you don't hurry, we are going to die. Then she ultimately does it. It opens up the passageway. Then when she gets in, she fucks it up. It's closing, and they're able to get out of there quickly before being crushed by spikes. Just a really memorable scene, a fun scene. And that's where they find the cult, the evil cult. Molaram, very good presence for a bad guy. Human sacrifice, ripping hearts out. And this poor guy's in a, like a, what do you call it? Like a cage, like a little cage. And literally dipped in the fire and just burned to death. And it's like, holy shit, these guys don't fuck around. But I mean, Spielberg wants to talk about darkness. Oh, it was too dark. The first film had a fucking Nazi's face is being melted or blowing up. You know, it's. But anyway, hey. But yeah, they see that. Indy's about ready to steal the stones. There's like 3 stones there, and then he hears that these kids are being whipped. And, you know, someone said it nicely that before the film, he's all about fortune and glory. I don't think he's much of an asshole, but through dialogue, he's at the beginning. He'll give this, give me the diamond, or hey, fortune glory. This is about fortune glory. That's someone said it best. That's the scene where Indy becomes that guy to the Indy we know and Raiders of the Lost Ark in future films, where he sees that these kids are being whipped, and you know, hey, I got, you know, there's something more than fortune and glory. But before he could do anything, they get captured, and then they introduce this interesting thing where this potion that if you're forced to drink will turn you into one of them, turn you into sort of a, not zombie, but sort of controlled. And so for a little bit, you have Indy as a bad guy, and you at one point smacked Short Round in the face. And again, you could not do this stuff today, which is too bad because it makes it like they won't let you punch a kid in the face or kids use as slave labor. Or one point, Short Round is getting whipped in the back with his big ass whip, and but I'm like, that makes the danger more. What's the word I'm looking for? More prevalent. So I think it works fine. It works better that way. And that apparently there's 2 more stones down below, and that's why all this slave labor is being used by the evil cult. And Indy, under control, they've put Willie Kate Capshaw in that same cage and are lowering her down. And Short Round, Short Round proves his worth. He's able to escape these bad guys. He's like, Indy, I don't want to hurt you. Come on, wake up, Indy. Burns him, wakes him up. And that's where you get that. This is definitely when the film kicks in. Like I said, the last 30, 40 minutes are fantastic. I mean, you got Indy beating up motherfuckers while trying to raise this cage that Kate Capshaw's in. Short Round is holding his own, doing a little bit of martial arts. You got, you know, rescuing the kids in that great scene where, you know, kids are being whipped, and then the camera sort of pushes in and reveals Indy staring and standing there, punching folks, unlocking the cuffs of the kids. There's the fighting the big Thuggee guy, but there's also this little asshole who's got a voodoo doll of Indy, so keeps stabbing in the back. So when Indy's getting the upper hand, he gets stabbed in the back from the voodoo doll and just crumbles down. And then Short Round proves his worth by kicking his ass. I love the scene where you have in the background Short Round beating up the little fuck, and then focus in that. Then it focuses the Indy doing the scene, then beating up the Thuggee guy. So you got that fun fight scene. You have the fun stunt work where Indy's being shot at and jumps on this thing, slides down into this minecart where Willie and Short Round in. You have the excellent minecart chase sequence, which apparently was something that was supposed to be in the first film. Just a lot of fun, practical effects, models. Just really, it's sad because they would never do this. This would all be on computer. It would not look half as good if it was in a computer. And I love the way it looks. I think it's a great chase scene. And it's original. How many minecart chases are there? That's interesting to me. And it's very well done. So yeah, that stuff going on was, again, very extensive chase sequence. You know, they're flying from one cart to the other. The bad guys are in one, and the good guys in another. And one time Short Round is caught in between them. And one time someone puts a block of wood that flips over a cart, and Just all this stuff going on with this. And he's fighting a guy off, and Willie able to punch a guy off their damn minecart. And it even ends with Indy having to put on the brakes, and then his feet's on fire. Water, water, and then this huge wave of water, 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 and they run out, and they on the side of the cliff, and the water's pushing down, almost drowning them, almost knocking them off, and they have to separate. And then Indy comes across these guys. And here's another thing. I believe it was Joss Whedon or someone was complaining about this, which, Joss, shut the fuck up. I like Avengers Age of Ultron, but Temple of Doom is better than anything you've done, Joss Whedon. It's like, well, why are they doing a callback to Indy with the gun, but this is before Raiders of the Lost Ark, so that doesn't make sense. I'm like, what if maybe he shoots people instead? He seems like the type of guy who would shoot people because he has a gun. Maybe he's done it more than once. The first time we've seen it is Raiders of the Lost Ark. But that doesn't mean that's the only time he's pulled a gun out and shoots someone. I don't understand the big deal with it. It's a fun scene. It's really funny. He tries to do it, but he doesn't have his gun. And he's able to have a little sword fight with these guys. And then you even have a little reference to... I remember sort of like the scene in Star Wars where Han Solo went this way, then he's running back down like shitload of stormtroopers chasing them. Here's like... then runs and a bunch of cult members are chasing him and chasing him over this rope bridge. And the rope bridge scene is great. Where, short round, everyone's on the rope bridge. And pretty much Indy gets that, sword, that machete. And it says, what was it? Prepared to meet Kali in hell. Before that, he looks over, it's like, oh shit. Prepared to meet Kali in hell. Boom! Splits, fucks up the rope bridge. Good guys holding on to some of the bad guys. And then you have a fight on the rope bridge, which is memorable. Molarum trying to get Indy's heart, and Indy stops it, punches the shit out of him, gets the stones, says some stuff that heats up the rocks and has him, you betrayed Shiva! You betrayed Shiva! They're all burning down. The last one burns Molaram, and Indy grabs it, and the guy falls to his death, getting eaten by crocodiles or alligators, whichever one they are. And, Indy gets back up, and the three of them return to the village with all of the kids who have been saved, and gives the stone back and save the day, and big hero of the day, and that great theme. It's just a great adventure. Great aspects of the sort of that horror film aspect made it really interesting. The cast did a great job. Harrison Ford was top notch. I think Kate Capshaw was funny in her role. Bolaram, good bad guy. Short Round, he did a great job. Well done action scenes and stunt work. Great score. It has its own touches as well as the great stuff from the first film. This film became its own movie. Wasn't just a direct copy of Raiders of the Lost Ark. And it's still entertaining. The last 30-40 minutes are a breathless ride. And I think Temple of Doom is a great movie. It's a great installment in the Indiana Jones films. And if anyone gives a crap, I have no idea why. I think it gets more leeway nowadays because of this one. They look at this one and go, this is shit. So I think they give more leeway to that one. Temple of Doom. But it also has my favorite poster as well. This poster is great. I love this poster of Indy just standing there. And a great tagline. If adventure has a name, it must be Indiana Jones. That's such an awesome poster. Of all the Indiana Jones posters, that's my favorite. That's a great poster. So, music, cast, adventure, excitement. Bad guys you really want to hate. It's edgy, ballsy with the darkness aspect, the little horror film aspect to it. And very satisfying. I had a lot of fun watching this. I had not seen this for a while, and again, it's hard to pick whether it's this or Raiders of the Lost Ark. That's how good it is. For the longest time, I always said Raiders of the Lost Ark, but watching this again, this is really up there with Raiders. It really is. It's hard for me to choose because it's its own film, but it's also very exciting and good characters, great music, wonderful action set pieces. I mean, the minecart alone, that chasing alone, along with all the other stuff. So, great movie, great film. Not much more to say about it than that. Thanks for watching. Take care, and we'll see you later. Bye bye.